Poker live streams have come a long way over the last 10 to 15 years. I've played on nearly all the most popular shows. A lot of my favorite moments in my career have been under the lights. I battled in legendary lineups for nosebleed stakes, even stacking the most iconic player of all time. I've made deep Day 5 runs in massive 10K buy-in, large field tournaments, competing for 6- and 7-figure life-changing scores, including this summer on poker's biggest stage with pressure at its highest in the Thunderdome during the main event. I've literally risked everything with complete air at major final tables to play only for the win. I've taken down gigantic 6-figure pots and cash games that I couldn't even dream of being involved in when I first fell in love with the game. I've also had several of my biggest losses and lowest points take place on stream as well. I've tried to do fun things to appease viewers, which resulted in punts so hard that NFL GMs tried to draft me. I feel like I've kind of been through it all when it comes to live streams, the good and the bad. In general, streams are pretty cool and have contributed a ton to the growth of poker. Perhaps the largest individual contributor to the success of live streams over the last 15 years is Ryan Feldman. He's the executive producer at Hustler Casino Live, and before that, he was at Live at the Bike. The amount of work that he's put in behind the scenes and what he's been able to build has been incredible. He's a pioneer who's helped make certain cash game players household names. He's assembled some of the biggest cash games in stream history with enormous 7-figure pots, and he's given us some of poker's most unforgettable moments. He's also given me an open invitation to play on his show. It's the most popular ongoing cash game stream, but I've honestly never been that interested in playing on it for several reasons. For one thing, my style of play isn't particularly well suited for live shows, and Ryan knows that. Streamed games have kind of devolved into a competition for who can have the highest VPIPs or get away with the most outlandish bluff shove. Solid poker play isn't interesting enough for general audiences, so crazy circus games and flips are implemented just to increase the gambling and be non-stop entertaining. The stakes have to be higher and higher with straddles, double straddles, triple straddles, quadruple straddles. It's just never enough. To be honest, I don't know how a lot of people can afford to lose 6 or 7 figures regularly and keep showing up. You never really know if players are firing on their own dime or if they're being backed, but the way that the money is being thrown around, sometimes it just feels like a couple $100,000 is Monopoly money. And in order to get invitations, people feel pressure to do absurd things for more clicks. I'm not a great match for the vibe that they're going for. The controversies associated with the show push me away even more. In fact, all these bizarre reality show type of moments that are admittedly extremely entertaining and get the entire poker world buzzing are kind of the exact opposite reason of why I started my channel. My goal has always been to show what life is actually like as a professional poker player, grinding it out, the ups and the downs, the exciting moments with big final tables, and the mundane ones when we're card dead. So I've mostly tried to avoid situations and moments that feel manufactured or somewhat forced, though I completely understand why other people love them. Even with all the controversies and things that I don't want to be associated with, and with pressure from viewers and chat pros to dance monkey, then dance some more, I still support what the Hustler has done to grow the game. I support Ryan, and I support the staff in the poker room that I've known for years from doing numerous meetup games at the property. There are also a few other special people at Hustler that I've known since before I even moved to Las Vegas to play for a living that actually go back to when my dad was in the casino industry. So while I've been looking at the Niners schedule for weeks, thinking about which of their games I might be able to attend, but realizing I'm busy almost every game day except potentially when the Niners are in LA, Mariano sends me a text saying that he wants to have a call about something. Once we're able to talk, he lets me know that he's putting together a lineup for a high-stakes streamed game on October 1st, the day before the Niners are in LA to play the Rams for Thursday Night Football. And he extends an invitation. Initially, I tell him over the phone that I'll get back to him, but after only a few minutes of considering it, I say I'm in. A lot of you viewers have asked me why I've never played on Hustler's stream, and it's about time I get over any qualms and just do it to hopefully contribute to the Hustler Casino Live empire and its lore like so many people I respect in the industry have already done. It gets announced that I'll be joining. My face is front and center on all the promotion leading up to it. During that time, my second YouTube channel gets completely terminated for something called circumvention. The termination is a result of an error committed by YouTube's AI, which is terrifying. Because my second channel is taken down, I'm technically not allowed to post on my main channel anymore, or really have anything to do with creating and posting videos to YouTube, which is devastating. It If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, but also please follow me on my other social media accounts to be notified if something like this ever happens in the future. A handful of content creators in the poker space reach out to help any way that they can. At the top of the list is Ryan Feldman, who actually gets me in contact with someone at YouTube to look into the issue. Traditionally, getting in touch with a real human at YouTube is nearly impossible. Ultimately, the situation gets resolved as YouTube realizes that it made a mistake, my second channel gets reinstated, and my main channel that you're watching now is no longer under the threat of being terminated either. Big thanks to Ryan for doing everything within his power. It makes me feel even better about joining Hustler's Livestream to hopefully contribute to their brand. It's getting close to game time. I arrive at the casino both nervous and excited for my Hustler Casino Live debut. I'm telling myself not to worry about the results too much, just have fun, play your best, and hopefully I'll get into plenty of interesting situations with big pots coming our way. I know if things go awry, I could certainly lose 6 figures though. I buy in for $20,000 to start. I'm a little tired since this is the 6th state that I played poker in over the last 2 weeks, but I'm in a good mood overall. The lineup seems phenomenal with few other pros. I'm not too familiar with everyone, although I've seen some highlight hands here and there, and I'm aware that a lot of them are wild. Unfortunately, I have a terrible seat draw with the most aggressive players on my immediate left, including Mariano, which makes it so I can't get out of line much because he'll keep me in check with plenty of 3 and even 4 bets. David Tuckman's doing the commentary. He's been in the poker industry for a long time. I've known him for several years and have a lot of admiration for what he's done. It's time to get down to business though. We're playing 50-50 with the $50 big blind ante. Early on, Francisco limps in with an offsuit connector, presumably to keep that VPIP high, but maybe he just likes limping. I check in the small blind with a hand good enough to win back-to-back main events. Mariano checks his option in the big blind. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It comes ace-10 deuce with 2 hearts. We flop bottom 2 pair after seeing some free community cards. It disappointingly checks around. The turn is the 8 of hearts, completing a flush draw that no one probably has, but this board's getting a little worse for our hand. We can't rely on our opponents to build a pot for us after they checked behind on the previous street. I bet $150 for value and protection. Mariano is getting about the right price that he needs while he's in position and has a chunk of equity. He calls. The hijack has dust and folds. It's down heads up with a fellow vlogger. The river's the ace of clubs, counterfeiting our 2 pair, but there's no real reason to think that Mariano has an ace. It's more likely that he has a missed flush draw or a 10 with a better kicker, but I hope that's not the case. I check to induce bluffs. Mariano has plenty of showdown value, perhaps enough to even bet for thin value. He puts 300 out there. There are a ton of combos that beat me, so I'm not eager to put more chips in the middle, but I didn't check for pot control just to let our hand go when we're facing a reasonably sized bet. I call the 300 to pick off missed hearts. Mariano rolls over his pair of 8s as we table the winner. It's not a big pot, especially for this game, but it's the first one we win, and it's important to get one off the bat to settle some nerves from playing on stream and get comfortable. It's never a bad thing to be up a few hundred as I acclimate to the game and the dynamics of the table. Everyone else knows each other and has played together before. I'm a guest at their home court, but I want to be friendly and engage in conversations when I can. I've been friends with Mariano for a long time, and I find out that the next dealer is someone that I've known for about 15 years. Did you say Tawny? Tawny deals her?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've known her for like...
I know, she's been excited to
from
see
Grayton, right? She was
I've known her
from
before
there.
she was even at Grayton. She used to be at a place called the 101 Casino where my dad was the manager. Well,
Dang.
he was part of the
I think she mentioned
casino operations. My dad and her dad were good friends.
Okay. Oh, you know Tawny.
But she was super pumped that you're coming.
Yeah, that's awesome. As I wait for Tawny to join us, we pick up Jack 10 suited in middle position. I raise to 150. I'm excited to pick up a playable suited Broadway hand and get involved as much as possible. The cutoff is also Delta Premium, at least in his mind. He 3-bets to 500 with Queen 6 offsuit. I know Mariano 3-bets a lot. He's currently on my direct left with 1 seat open in between us at the moment, but now it becomes clear that I have to worry about another maniac re-raising me who's 2 to my left. This is going to make me incredibly handcuffed if they keep regularly 3-betting that light. I was intending to call to at least see a flop, but Francisco wakes up with aces in the big blind to put out a cold 4-bet of 1,700. My decision becomes a whole lot easier. I fold. The cutoff, Ohio David gets caught making a move. He folds face up, so I immediately see some of the wild things that are taking place. As good as it is for entertainment purposes on stream, this is not a play that happens in real life. It makes it so I'm actually forced to play tighter with my starting hands, and then I can also 4-bet lighter if I get good candidates at combos to do that with. But ideally, I'll just get top-notch combos to absolutely punish opponents when they make circus plays. Later, the bounty game is on. If a player wins 3 hands in a row, he'll receive $1,000 extra from each person at the table. Mariano's won 2 in a row and is on the brink of winning his 3rd as he puts on a $1,000 straddle. It's 20 times the size of the big blind. Under the gun +1 opens to 6,000 with a premium, ace-king suited. Mariano looks down at a pocket pair with essentially 24 times the straddle amount in his stack. Since he'll get an extra 7,000 in bonus money if the pot is pushed his direction, he has more than enough hand to push the action.
All in.
All in.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Mariano all in.
They're about to play a pot of nearly $50,000. They're going to run it twice. If Mariano wins the first run out, I'll have to pay him $1,000 out of my stack. The flop gives Mariano a big lead. The turn full house seals it. Not only does he get half the pot, but he gets all the additional bounty money. The second run out goes to Dr. H after he makes a full house of his own. Them chopping the pot somehow results in me losing money, and I'm still potentially on the hook to lose several thousand more. Mariano continues his streak. It's a progressive bonus for each subsequent hand that's won, so if Mariano wins a 4th hand in a row, I'll have to pay him $2,000, and so will 7 other players, making it so Mariano will get an additional $16,000 if he manages to win once more. But he'll have to go through King-Queen offsuit to do it. He straddles for $1,500 this time. The hijack raises to $7,000. Mariano calls $7,000 with 10-8 offsuit. Both players flop a pair, and they get it in for $14,000 more effective. Again, they elect to run it twice in another all-in pot over $40,000. Mariano spikes 2 pair or trips on the first run out. I'll be on the hook for another couple thousand. So, while I like him, I'm not rooting for him. Both boards end up running out clean for Dr. P's King-Queen. He takes down an absurd pot to scoop Mariano in a hand that, again, is pretty much only going to happen on stream. With all the side games, the variance is ramped up. I'm going to have to run good, otherwise it'll be easy to get torched, especially in the seat that I'm in with aggressive players to the left. This is just the beginning of the side game madness as well. With the Squid Game on and Tawny in the dealer's chair, Dylan picks up pocket aces in middle position. He raises to 300. Dr. P makes a speculative call in the hijack to potentially win a Squid Game hand as we're dealt pocket 8s on the button. The way the Squid Game works is if you win one of 11 hands during this round, you're safe and you don't have to pay a penalty. For each of those 11 hands that you win, you'll receive a Squid Game button, and every player who doesn't have a Squid Game button in front of them after the 11 hands are played out will have to pay $300 to you for every button that you have. If you don't win a hand all during the game, you have to pay out $3,300 total to players who do have buttons. Squid Game is a variation of the Nick game that can potentially have multiple losers, and the upside for the winners is higher too. For instance, if one player wins all 11 hands, his 8 opponents would have to pay him $3,300 each, so the winner could collect up to $26,400 in bonus money alone. I consider 3-betting our snowmen, but our hand does well to set mine in position against multiple opponents. I call. Mariano puts in an out-of-line 3-bet with 10-7 offsuit to 2,000 from the small blind. He's trying to squeeze, but it's not going to work here. Dylan could 4-bet, but he knows Mariano's liable to continue firing post-flop, so he calls for $1,700 more to trap. Dr. P gets out of the way. I was considering 3-betting anyway. We don't have quite as much implied odds as I'd prefer to set mine, but with the extra money that we can possibly get from the Squid Game, and since we're on stream with what might even be the best hand, it's worth it to see a flop in position. I close the action calling for $1,700 more as well. 3 of us are still in. The flop comes 9-6-3 rainbow. We've got second pair. There's just no way for us to be certain it's good though. Mariano fires for 3,000. If Dylan folds, the plan is to make the call. Dylan doesn't seem to be concerned that we're behind him with what could easily be a pocket pair that either connects with this board or is good enough to continue. He calls. Both players have to be aware that I might have a set, yet they were both willing to put in money post-flop. I could be drawing dead if one of them has pocket 9s, or I could be drawing to 2 outs if either of them has a pair higher than mine. Given the action, it's too likely that I'm in bad shape for me to want to continue. I fold and look for a better spot. My goal today is to play as well as I can without thinking too much about what's going on in the chat, whether people are calling me a nit or saying whatever else they want to about me. At the end of the day, I'm playing with my own money, and though I'd like to put on a show for people, I don't want to go way out of my way to do it like I have in the past, which has led me to lose a lot more money than I should have in certain spots, and ultimately made me a lot less happy than I would have been if I just tried to play solid. I'm not dealt anything else playable during the Squid Game, so I lose along with 2 other players, and I'm forced to pay out $3,300. Altogether, I'm down over $7,000, with more than $4,000 of it coming from side games. You may remember in the last vlog from Detroit, I lost $8,000 during one round of the Nick game, mostly in spots, just trying to avoid paying out a $1,000 penalty that I ultimately had to pay anyway. Overall, I might be down $400,000 or $500,000 during the Nick game. Not in penalties necessarily, but primarily due to getting absolutely waxed at the Lodge playing the biggest games of my life several years ago, while the Nick game happened to be running. I've done better since then, but to be honest, I rarely enjoy playing variations of it because it brings back terrible memories, and I'd have a lot more money if it was never invented. They like to play it here though. I'm a guest, I'll roll with it. We're playing around to the Squid Game again. Either the Squid Game or the Bounty Game is on non-stop from this point. Mariano's under the gun +1. He raises to 300. Dr. P calls in the small blind. I'm ecstatic because I look down at ace-3 suited in the big blind. We're an hour and 45 minutes into the session, and this is about the best spot that I found myself in. I call for 250 more. 3 of us are seeing the flop. It comes 7-6-5 with 2 clubs. We've got a flush draw, gutter to the low end of the straight, and an over. The small blind checks. I consider betting because we've got a lot of equity, and this isn't a flop that'll often connect with an early position raiser's range, but I check to the in-position aggressor. Mariano checks back. The turn is the ace of spades, giving us top pair, but I know it might be dangerous for us. Small blind gets a terrible turn card for his hand, but he makes a small bet of 300. I actually consider raising since there's a strong possibility that our top pair is no good, given that Mariano checked behind on the flop after raising pre-flop from early position, but if I raise, Mariano is sharp enough to know that he might be drawing dead with only 1 pair, so he'd have to consider folding something as good as top. Just in case the small blind has a monster, I call, mostly relying on our hand's potential to improve. If we can hit a flush, then it benefits us to keep Mariano in anyway. Mariano isn't going anywhere when he gets the best turn possible. He calls, which I was hoping not to see because now it's way more likely that he's got a better top pair. The river is the 7 of diamonds pairing the board. We miss our draw and have a kicker that doesn't play. The small blind checks. I'm wondering if we can value bet or block bet our ace, but I'm too concerned that we'd be torching it. I check. If this gets checked through, perhaps we can get the victory at showdown. Mariano won't be checking back. He makes over a pot-sized bet of 2,000. I don't think that he'll ever have trips or betters, so this is somewhat suspect, but I don't see how he'll have very many bluffs in this spot when he's betting large into 2 players who could reasonably have decent holdings. Small blind is a non-believer. He calls. As much as I'd like to get to showdown, I doubt that we've got the winner. I'm trying to play well today. I fold. Mariano shows down big slick. Dr. P is here having a good time. He reveals that he made an ultra-light call to maybe win a Squid Game button. It ends up costing him. I'm getting very little to work with, which isn't much fun, especially when on stream, and especially when these additional side games punish card-dead players double hard. The chat pros are in there saying exactly the type of things that I'd expect. It's disappointing for me too, to not be able to get involved more, but it's even less fun when I have a session like this while my face is on the thumbnail and people expect me to be juggling chainsaws or doing magic tricks or something. My goal is still mostly to employ my normal strategy while not letting tilt seep in, causing me to force anything, even though the situation I'm currently in is quite tilting. It's the last hand of the Squid Game. I'm on the brink of losing 2 Squid Games in a row and having to pay out another $3,300. Dr. P is the only other player without a squid button in front of him. At least one of us will be paying a penalty. He limps in for 50 to give himself an opportunity to see a flop. We're dealt pocket 9s in the hijack. We finally pick up a great starting hand in a decent spot. I go large with the raise to 700. If I can get everyone to fold, I avoid losing 3,300. I also wouldn't mind isolating the limper. I should have known better. No one folds, even if you make it 14x. Mariano calls on the button with a reasonable hand containing suited broadways. Dr. H is in the big blind. He wants to get in the mix. He calls for 650 more. Not a lot of his hands have gotten to showdown except when he got it all in with ace-king suited, so I'm not realizing how light he's been getting involved overall. Dr. P didn't limp the Robbie to fold to $1 million more. He calls to close the action. 4 of us are seeing the flop. It comes ace 8-5 with 2 spades. Our 9s aren't likely to be good with an ace out there, but we've got 3 opponents. Everyone checks, including Mariano. He's who I was most concerned about having an ace, but that concern has been reduced. The turn is the 7 of hearts, giving us a gutter to go along with our second pair. The big blind checks. Now that he's checked twice, I doubt he has top pair or better. Dr. P checks. Same goes for him. He probably doesn't have much. Mariano likely would have bet top pair if he had it on the flop, so I discount him having us beat. It's looking like our 9s are best. I put out a small bet of $1,100 to deny equity. It's a little over 1/3 the size of the pot. Mariano realizes that we have a large incentive to bluff, and with no one showing much interest leading up to our turn bet, he must be thinking that there's a chance I'm betting $1,100 only to avoid paying out $3,300. He calls. He might have intentions of bluffing on the river. The big blind folds. Dr. P concedes, knowing he 100% has to pay out $3,300 now. It's down to heads up. The river is the 6 of diamonds. We get an amazing run out to drill the straight. Mariano almost definitely doesn't have a straight since half the 9s are accounted for, including the 9 of spades. He probably has a weak 1 pair or air. He knows that I need to win this pot. I don't want to check to him to give him an opportunity to check back anything with slight showdown value. Instead, I announce a bet of $1,600 to get value in case he has something like King 8 suited that he'd consider calling us with. If he has a missed flush draw or something worse than 1 pair, he might consider raising as a bluff because I won't often have a 9 in my hand when I raise pre-flop.
Brett Owen announces $1,600.
My mom and dad, well, my mom
After a little bit of thought,
right there. My brother's older than me.
unless Mariano wants to raise, this hand is over. And if Mariano does raise, it's not going to go well for him. Whoa! Mariano called. He called with no pair. Just absolutely nothing.
Okay,
Brad. Look at that, we got the World Poker Tour in the chat. What's up, World Poker Tour? Brad Owen is waking up.
It's a surprising call from Mariano on the turn and river, but he understands I was desperate to win a pot. Not only was I incentivized to make a move, he's also incentivized to win because he would have received everything in the pot and an additional $900 in Squid Game money if he won. I get back on track to only be down about $4,000 while I avoid losing a second Squid Game. Here's a look at the stats 2.5 hours in. I'm really only down because of the side games now. Could be far worse though. I'm so optimistic that the good cards will come. Maybe something insane will happen, and I'll get a hand as strong as ace-10. No real surprise that I'm at the bottom of the VPIP leaderboard. I've actually played some hands that I wouldn't normally play just to keep that number above 20%. It's somewhat of a miracle it's as high as it is. I'm not too far behind Lawyer Dan, who I've made a mental note, seems to be playing snug with what has to be better card distribution, and he has a better seat at the table with passive players who are regularly open limping behind him. The only place I'm doing well tonight is in the total tank time graphic, where I'm at the very bottom with half the accumulated time or less than just about everyone. My decisions to fold have mostly been quick and easy. One more Squid Game is on. This is again the last hand of the round, and again I haven't won a button yet, so I'm going to have to pay out $3,300 if I don't take this pot down. There's a $100 straddle on. Under the gun +1 calls the 100. As I mentioned when the VPIP graphic was up, Lawyer Dan hasn't gotten involved much, but he's looking to play. He makes a large raise to 600. Right away, alarm bells are going off. He likely has 2 high cards or a big pair. No alarm bells are going off in Francisco's head. He makes the ambitious call to see a flop. I've added on for 10,000 more and look at pocket 9s in the small blind. If this were a normal pot, I'd flat to set mine, but with the Squid Game on, I absolutely need to win or it's going to cost me $3,300. I'd like to weed out what has to be garbage hands some of my opponents are trying to see a relatively inexpensive flop with. I 3-bet to 4,000. We benefit from getting all hands containing overcards to fold. Mariano lays down ace-jack offsuit like he's supposed to. No one at the table understands how cold I've been running, so they should think that I'm tight, and this 3-bet in a normal game would get all hands even as good as ace-queen offsuit to fold. Dr. H has a layup laydown since he initially only limped in for 100, but he's now facing a raise from a player with the second lowest VPIP at the table, followed by a re-raise from the player with the lowest VPIP. He's treating the decision like he has to 360 dunk from the free throw line though. He goes the unconventional route, limp calling for 3,900 more. It's a play you don't often see. Again, his hands haven't really gotten to showdown, so I have absolutely no clue how he plays or what range to put him on. In my mind, it's just as likely he's playing a monster here as it is that he's got a small pocket pair, but offsuit disconnected cards is not a combo that I put him on. Lawyer Dan has a Squid Game button, so he's not on the hook to have to pay a penalty if he folds. He has 18,250 total. The graphics are slightly off for his stack size at the moment. Lawyer Dan doesn't care what my VPIP is and that I've 3-bet him. He 4-bet jams for over 14,000 more. Is that legal? King 3 no longer looks like the Goliath combo that it once did. The hijack has no choice with all the action though. He has to make an extremely disciplined fold. All of a sudden, I'm in a very strange situation while I consider everything at play. There's about 13,000 in the middle from 3 of us putting in 4,000 each, in addition to the straddle and dead 600. Then it's 14,000 on top of that, plus if I fold, I'm guaranteed to have to pay out 3,300 for losing the Squid Game. All things considered, I'm getting about 2-1 on a call. I need to win about 33% of the time for a call here to be profitable against Lawyer Dan's range. Lawyer Dan knows that I need to win this hand. He could be thinking that I 3-bet light, which in turn could cause him to 4-bet somewhat light, but what does light really mean for him? Maybe he's making a play with ace-4 or ace-5 suited. Even though I'd be ahead, those hands still have some equity against me. Lawyer Dan already has a Squid Game button and really doesn't need to win this pot, especially when I haven't gotten out of line at all and my VPIP percentage is the lowest at the table, while his is the second lowest. Those factors make me think that there's no way he's doing this too light. I doubt he rips it with pocket 8s or worse. I doubt he rips it with ace-jack or worse. If my assessment's correct, I'm either up against 2 very high cards that I'm flipping with or an overpair that has me absolutely dominated. Also, it's not just him that I have to be worried about. Dr. H is in the hand with who knows what. We already saw that Dylan just flatted a 3-bet with aces earlier and me behind him. It's not totally impossible for Dr. H to have some surprise gigantic hand or even something like 10s or jacks that have me in bad shape. I know the chat wants to see carnage. For that reason, part of me wants to get involved to get them excited, but there are just too many things going against me. I know that I'll be happiest if I try to make the best decision that I can for myself. I fold, resulting in me losing the 4,000 that I 3-bet, and then the additional $3,300 penalty. This hand cost me $7,300 total. Dr. H is now in a bizarre spot, getting about 2-1 and having 35% equity. He should have just folded previously to avoid feeling obligated to play an all-in pot over $40,000 with an offsuit ace-5. He's an action player though, and as long as he's not up against pocket aces, which he has removal to, he's kind of getting the right price. He calls.
Wow, Dr. H is going to gamble. Dr. H is going to gamble.
No, I don't show and I don't tell. That's why.
No show and tell?
I never tell, yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
Neither player turns over their cards, so I still don't know what's going on. All I know is that I don't want to see a 9 appear on either run out. The first flop comes ace-king-6 rainbow. I know that's not one that would have been good for me. The turn is the 10 of spades. Lawyer Dan tables his ace-queen offsuit. The river is the deuce of clubs. This run out determines who wins the Squid Game. I would have lost that one and had to pay out the $3,300 anyway. The second flop is queen jack 4 with 2 clubs. That one doesn't help me either. The turn is the 7 of spades. Dr. H is drawing dead. The river is another jack. Lawyer Dan scoops it all, hitting top pair on both runouts. It's incredible to see an all-in like this in a live game. Usually, people only get it in this light on ClubWPT Gold, where games are incredibly soft and there's non-stop action. There's a link in the description box below if you want to join using my name Brad, so that you're eligible for all kinds of extra perks. In the past, I've hosted 6-figure free rolls and given away opportunities to win $1 million or more. You'll get 20 additional chips with your first purchase, which are redeemable for cash at 1-to-1 with the US dollar, so it's silly to not take advantage of that. You can play from 44 states in the US. I have more information in the description box below. Lawyer Dan does well with his 4-bet rip to get me to fold the best hand pre-flop, and then it results in him somehow getting called by ace-5 offsuit, although ace-5 is never tabled, so I still don't have a sense of how fearless Dr. H is playing. If I had called the shove, I'd have lost both runouts and would have ended up losing $21,550 total. My fold keeps me from losing over $14,000 more than I could have lost by sticking in there. It's still tough to keep the chat pros happy though. We're coming up on 4 hours into the stream with another Squid Game going. I've added on for 30,000 more because I like what I've seen so far. I'm in for 60,000 total, but I just can't find a good spot to save my life. I know that I have to be getting absolutely roasted in the chat because that's a toxic place where people root for car crashes to occur on tracks while a train is coming full steam ahead. This game is as good as it could possibly be, so it's excruciatingly painful to get so few face cards, particularly when I'm getting extra punished for continuously losing the Squid Game. I'm currently down 7,600 in penalties alone. Francisco limps in from under the gun, Dr. P limps in on my right. We look down at 9-6 suited. It's honestly one of the best hands that we've been dealt this session, aside from the 2 times that we were dealt pocket 9s and the one where we had pocket 8s. I want to give the viewers something to root for, plus this hand has some meme value. I raised to 500, going slightly out of my way to get involved and keep the VPIP up. Playing our hand is dangerous due to how often our opponents are 3 and 4 betting, but maybe we can get a bit lucky. 3 coin calls in the hijack, Ohio David calls on the button. We're not going to win pre-flop, isolate the limpers, or even play from in position. Dr. H calls from the small blind, Lawyer Dan calls in the big blind. Francisco actually decides that he no longer wants to play his suited connectors. He folds, Dr. P folds as well. We're playing a 5-way pot when 7 players VPIP'd and everyone has complete garbage. The flop comes 9-6-3 with 2 spades. We somehow smash top 2 pair against 4 opponents and it's as hidden as it gets. It checks to us. Having top 2 pairs great, but there are a ton of awful turns and rivers, especially when we have 4 opponents. Someone else could easily have a flush draw, a straight draw, or top pair with a better kicker. We obviously don't want to see any additional spades come out, and any card that doesn't pair the board from deuce to a 10 completes at least 1 straight draw. I also absolutely don't want to lose a 3rd Squid Game and have to pay another 3,300. With all that in mind, coupled with the fact that it looks like I'm tilted and probably don't have a hand that actually connected with this flop after raising pre-flop, I go with a large sizing at 3,000. We're playing almost 1,000 big blinds deep against people who look for any reason not to fold. I need to charge drawing hands, and who knows, maybe someone will do something ridiculous like I've seen a lot tonight already. When we've got 4 opponents, it's surprising how little anyone connected with the flop. No one even has a pair or draw, except Ohio David with the gutter, which isn't that strong when there's a flush draw out there. I would have cried if an 8 peeled off and he stacked me. Instead, everyone folds. We have to show our 9-6 suited to the table to get a Squid Game button and avoid paying another 3,300. Maybe some people are realizing after seeing that hand that I'm not quite as nitty as my VPIP might make it seem. We're back to playing the bounty game, so the goal for most players at the table is to win 3 or more hands in a row. My goal at the table was to win 3 or more hands for the session. Francisco limps in for 50 from the cutoff. I've noticed a couple times that he's gotten a little squirrely both pre-flop and post-flop. Dr. P limps in from the button. I couldn't be more pumped up to see some suited cards in the small blind. It doesn't matter what they are. This is seriously one of the best starting hands that I've seen. I check my option with 10-7 suited. Mariano checks in the big blind, making it to the flop without getting 9-bet. Feels like I just climbed Mount Everest. It comes King 6-6 rainbow. Mariano checks. Francisco realizes that this isn't a board that's likely to connect with anyone. He takes a stab for 200 and an attempt to steal the pot with what's somehow the best hand. The button folds. I've been paying enough attention to realize Francisco's been doing this type of thing with air in previous hands. We've got removal to 7-6, and with my image, I should be able to get plenty of credit if I make a move. I raise the 700 with complete dust, except a backdoor straight draw. Mariano folds. Francisco quickly folds as well. This is not the type of hand that would normally make a vlog, but we're over here trying to make lemonade out of dirt.
Brad, you're on fire.
Mariano, let's cut it out.
Picking up steam.
Yeah.
Francisco limps in from under the gun while I'm in the midst of a grueling mental battle, but we're dealt Queen 10 offsuit. My vision is getting distorted from the drought that we've been on. Our hand is generally considered medium strength at best. However, right now, it's a Mirage Premium. I raised to 200 even though I might normally consider folding this combo when someone has already limped in, but we're on stream and I've got to keep that VPIP up. Right on cue, 3 coin, 3 bets to 600. I immediately get punished for trying to play cards, not sure what I was thinking. Mariano picks up an even better hand that has me crushed. He double punishes me with a cold 4 bet to 2100. The bounty game is on. Mariano's won 1 hand already, but a second win won't do a ton for him if he doesn't also get a 3rd win right after, so there's no huge incentive for him to be getting way out of line after seeing a good amount of aggression in front of him. Francisco folds, I fold as well. 3 coin calls for 1,500 more to go to war. It's heads up. The flop comes queen, queen, deuce with 2 hearts. I would have gotten the best flop of the night for myself had I stayed in, and I still would have lost to a better trips. I'm watching this hand play out as I'm battling internally so hard to stay patient. I'm battling every urge to stretch out the range, make light calls, and punt. Somehow, I'm doing a surprisingly great job at not losing tens of thousands of dollars. Then finally, I'm battling what I know has to be taking place in the chat right now, with people on their keyboards talking shit when they couldn't beat the Potawatomi 1-2 game, saying I suck at poker, I'm scared, and that I'm a nit because that's the cool thing to call people when, unfortunately, playing solid poker isn't cool or admirable. I get it, it's not fun to watch me right now, I don't even want to be me right now. This is kind of my worst nightmare, made even more annoying by the fact that the game is so incredible with what people are limping in with and calling jams with for 5 figures. Here we watch Mariano get it all in with trips against ace-high post-flop or piles. If I can just get Delta Premium, there's a good chance that I can easily turn this around and walk out of here with a massive profit, but for right now, I feel like I'm forced to watch these types of hands play out from the sidelines. I'm like a kid in a candy store who's told that I'm not allowed to eat anything. This is the perfect example of why I can't just get in there and bluff because the opponents at the table aren't folding anything. Meanwhile, Mariano's making a comeback after being down 90,000 earlier in the session. He's also won 2 hands in a row. If he wins a third one, everyone else at the table and I will have to pay him $1,000. He straddles from the hijack for 700 to dissuade anyone from getting involved light. We have to play team defense. Ohio David is first to act. He limps in for 700 with a trappy combo. Dr. H has never seen 2 cards that he doesn't like. He calls a 700 as well. It's kind of a communal effort to get in there with any playable cards to keep Mariano from winning a third hand in a row. We're dealt ace-8 suited, which, no joke, is by far the best non-pocket pair holding that we've seen tonight, and we're 4 hours into the session. I consider raising, but I'm too concerned that one of the limpers might have flatted the 700 with intentions of limp 3-betting like it appears Ohio David is going for. I call, hoping that Mariano doesn't pick up anything good or make it 5,000 to go like he reasonably could since he'd win tons of extra money if he got everyone to fold. He checks his option. We're going 4 ways to the flop, out of position. It comes 10-7-4 rainbow, just like when Casey meets Patrick during the reveal on the most recent season of Love is Blind. There's no connection. I check, Mariano checks, the cutoff and button won't be betting their high card holdings either, they also check. The turn is the 6 of clubs, we pick up a gutter ball, but that's it. Everyone checks for a second time. The river is the 9 of spades, giving us a straight and about a $3,000 pot. I have to think about how we can make the most money. It doesn't seem like anyone else has much. I get tricky and check because Mariano is the most likely to be holding an 8, and he has the most incentive to win this pot since he'll get everything in the middle, plus $6,000 in bonus money if he gets a bluff through. He takes the bait, overbetting $5,000 into $2,950. Ohio Dave folds. The check is working out better than I anticipated. There's a minuscule chance I'm beat and a small chance I'm chopping, but it looks like we're going to win at least $8,000. Dr. H calls with only second pair to keep Mariano honest. What a dream. I snap call with visions of winning an $18,000 pot or at least chopping it. Those dreams are crushed when Mariano turns over the nuts in about the best scenario possible for him. I have to pay out another $1,000 on top of the $5,000 that I just lost, but I could have lost even more, especially if I'd bet river myself rather than checked.
Brad Owen smart enough not to raise in that spot, probably figuring he's chopping it with at least one player, if not both. So Mariano wins the bounty, still down 9,000, but remember he was down 80K. 3 coin down 40K. Dylan flashed their call down to 40K. They both threw in the white flag, threw in the white towel. They called it a night. Dr. H is down. Brad Owen down. Mariano's still down, but not nearly what he was down earlier on. Francisco, our big winner, up 47K.
I'm down almost 17,000, but you just saw me lose 5,700 in that pot getting coolered. I'm down 8,600 from paying penalties and side games. It might not look like it, but this is me actually playing my best poker by not falling into traps, not punting off like some others have, and not being down 50,000 or more like I easily could be. I'm occasionally looking over to watch playoff baseball on a nearby TV while I think about how lucky I am to play high-stakes poker and to have the family, friends, and job I have as someone who just makes stupid YouTube videos. All those good thoughts are keeping me from losing my mind at the moment. It's the final round of the Squid Game. Mariano and I both need to win a pot. Mariano double straddles for 200 from under the gun +1. Ohio David limps in from middle position. Francisco picks up a hand with 2 cards that aren't blank. He calls. I'm in the under the gun straddle. I call for 100 more. I'd like to see a flop without having to put any additional money in, but Mariano raises to 1400. The riffraff gets out of the way. We're closing the action with one of the best combos that we've gotten tonight. I call for 1200 more, holding 10-7 suited. We're heads up, out of position, with both of us playing deep. Maybe this will be the hand that gets us unstuck. Or maybe this will be the hand that buries me. The flop comes Queen 8-7 rainbow. We've got bottom pair and some backdoor draws. I verbally checked the aggressor, who I expect to see bet at a high frequency, whether he has much or not. Mariano makes a small probe bet of 1000. We're definitely not folding. We might have the best hand, and there are quite a few cards that'll help us improve to get us 2-pair combos or decent draws. The problem with calling is that Mariano might apply additional pressure with large bets on future streets, even if he's got air, and it'll be tough for us to call down with bottom pair in the instances when we don't improve. I check raise to 2500 to protect our equity when we've got the best hand, take over as the aggressor, and represent 2-pair or a set that we have removal for. If something like a 6 or 9 comes out, we could continue blasting away to rep the straight as well. Mariano only has ace high and no great opportunities to improve. He folds. We have to show our hand in order to get a squid button. We take down the pot, winning several thousand, and avoid having to pay another $3,300 penalty for the Squid Game. This ends up being one of the most fun hands that I play out of the entire session, and it's not even that large of a pot compared to most of the others, but I'm content to get involved and be in a spot which I can put in a check raise to get a victory. No one wants to put on a big bluff when the stakes are high and everyone's watching more than I do, but I'm going to do it when it makes sense. There weren't good opportunities for me to make moves today, and sometimes that's just how it goes. It's too bad that's the case when I'm on a stream, because I would have liked to have put on a show. I wasn't able to. The table agrees to do a 1K PLO flip to end the stream. Spoiler alert, I don't win it. In some ways, I feel bad about my time on Hustler and not being able to get involved much. In other ways, I'm really proud of this session since I didn't go too far out of my way to force anything over the top. These are the end stats. I hate seeing them because I know that people think that somehow this tells the whole story of my session. I actually think VPIP tends to be pretty misleading at times. I managed to play 1/4 of the hands that I was dealt, which is a massive accomplishment given the cards that I was working with. I end up losing 15,750 total. The graphics are slightly off. 9,600 of my loss was just from side game penalties alone, while only about 6,000 is from actually playing poker. You can see there are quite a few others who lost as much or more than me, but what's really telling is this heat map showing my card distribution for the night. You can see that I was dealt suited Broadway cards exactly one time with Jack 10 suited early on. You may remember I was 3-bet by Queen 6 offsuit, then cold 4-bet by pocket aces. This was the only suited connecting hand that I was dealt other than 3 deuce suited. I was dealt no suited 1-gappers aside from 5-3 suited. I was dealt pocket 9s twice, which was by far the best hand that I got, then pocket 8s once when someone again had pocket aces. I was also dealt pocket deuces, but it was 3-bet before it got to me, so I couldn't play it. I never had a single premium hand. It was almost all offsuit trash. The ace-8 suited was the best high card hand that I was dealt over a 5-hour session, which is totally insane. Ohio David had ace-queen, that same hand. I ended up making a straight, and Mariano made a higher straight. The only other suited ace that I got was ace-3. This is the type of thing that the chat pros don't take into consideration when they're talking out of their ass calling me a nit. It's the kind of thing that pisses me off because expectations are through the roof for me, but when I play well by not forcing things, by not listening to the devil on my shoulder telling me to blast off and limiting losses, there's no praise for that. I could play 100 more sessions and not get a colder run of cards. What everyone in the chat completely fails to realize, and what doesn't show up in the final stats, is that even though I'm walking out of the casino with 16,000 less than I walked in with, I just put on a clinic and made a ton of money today. Poker's about winning more than your opponents would have if they were in the same situation, and also losing less than they would. Today, I made money just by sitting down in the game. I made thousands by avoiding river calls that most other players at the table would have made, and actually did make with far worse holdings. I made money by avoiding the traps the other players were setting for me when they were just flatting 3-bets with monster pairs, or when they were just limping in with hands hoping that I'd raise behind them, but I didn't. I made money by not getting it in light for mid 5-figure pots with air. I made money by not giving in to the pressure of the viewers. Believe me, it wasn't enjoyable for me to have to look down at offsuit, non-connected low cards for 5 hours straight and have to fold every time to try and play disciplined, but I've been the guy forcing it before and getting it in bad just to be more entertaining, and it was an awful feeling. I totally understand people being let down by this appearance. This is actually one of the least fun sessions that I've ever played, and to have it be on stream makes it 10 times worse for me, but at some point, I'll be on the other side of things. I'll be getting hit by the deck while people with 40% VPIPs are getting it in dominated. I admit my style of play, avoiding the big losses, isn't cool or electrifying. I'm not able to feign happiness or force conversations when I'm losing thousands of dollars while I know I'm getting crucified in the chat, but me managing to stay disciplined despite everything going against me, despite having plenty of reasons to blast off and being on mega tilt, is what makes this perhaps the best cash game live performance that I've ever had. I played as well as I could for 5 hours and didn't punt off tens of thousands of dollars like a younger me might have. I know the viewers would have been more entertained if I gave in and got torched, but if me playing my best isn't enough, that's okay. I'd rather be a good example for people who are actually trying to grind it out. If you're sitting at a table, it's late in the session, and you're looking at garbage hand after garbage hand, fighting hard to resist the urge to expand your range and make light calls, I hope you think of me being miserable on this stream, folding hand after hand, not giving them an extra dime, and I hope it motivates you to keep your head on straight, to keep playing disciplined when it's most difficult. If you can do that, your opponents are going to lose more than you when it's their turn to run cold, and that's when your biggest edge will be realized. I didn't have a great time today, and it's evident, but if watching me be miserable with the card distribution I was getting while still managing to lose as little as possible helps you lose less in future sessions when things aren't going your way, my debut on the Hustler Casino Live will be a huge success in my book. The following day, I apologized to Ryan and Mariano for not being able to contribute to the show the way that I'd hoped. There were essentially no highlights from my play. It legitimately makes me sad that it didn't go better because now I'm even less interested in playing streams going forward, but my trip isn't over. 2 episodes ago, I inserted this clip, me playing guitar on the left, performing with my high school band. My friend Simon, who's also playing guitar right next to me, lives in Los Angeles. We make it to SoFi Stadium to watch the Niners-Rams game. I've never been to Levi South before. It's a cool place to watch some football. The Niners are banged up, so expectations are low with them being an 8.5-point underdog. Things look surprisingly promising early on with my favorite team scoring the first 2 touchdowns. It's nice to enjoy the game with a high school friend that I've known for over 20 years as I clear my head and decompress from last night's session. The Rams make a huge second half comeback to tie it at 20 with very little time left. The Niners have had some kicker problems this year, so I'm not very optimistic about our chances as we go for a 60-yarder with only a few minutes remaining. Pinheiro has been lights out for us as a replacement though, and he drills one that might have been good from 70. The momentum is back on our side. The Rams don't quit though. They answer right back with a long field goal of their own to send us into overtime. We score 3 on the first possession, but the Rams come roaring back as my other high school friend's brother, who happens to be at the game, joins us to root for our defense to get a stop on 4th and 1 at the 11-yard line. If we don't get a stop, the Rams will probably win with a touchdown. From our angle, it's tough to tell whether or not the Rams get the first down, at least until we see the Niners players jumping up and down to celebrate the stop and the overtime win. The trip is salvaged as I root on my team, improving to 4-1 with 2 guys who were there competing against me when I was just getting started playing poker. We used to play around the kitchen table together for $1 each. At that time, we used dry noodles and crackers as chips. It's cool to look back and remember those times while I'm now on the same team as Ivy, playing some of the largest cash games and tournaments in the world. This trip doesn't go exactly how I planned, but it's still a good one overall. I'm glad it came out. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons. It helps out the channel a ton. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'm happy to get back to you. Thanks to the Hustler for having me out there, even though it wasn't the showing that I hoped for. Thanks for everybody who was in the chat, who was supporting me. I mean, I went back obviously and looked at it, and so it was cool to see, you know, some nice comments in there for people that were rooting me on. It's just tough. Like, this is a different skill set, playing the side games and being like really entertaining in the moment is not something that I specialize at. For me, I'm pretty introverted, and I love showing you my world when I have time to think about, you know, exactly what I want to say in these vlogs. But if I'm getting torched on stream, where historically I've not had the best sessions, and then I'm thrown like right back into these somewhat like nightmarish situations, I'm just not that happy. And it's kind of like if a professional golfer is asked to join like a long drive competition or something. It's just a different skill set on these streams that I'm not particularly good at. I'm gonna be going out to the Barrel Social Club in Nashville, well, just north of Nashville. It's actually in Franklin, Kentucky, but I'm gonna be spending some time in Nashville, so I'm really excited about that. If you guys have any recommendations, let me know. But that'll be November 3rd, and I'm gonna be playing at 2 p.m. 5:10. So if you're interested in joining me for that, then feel free to do so. And if you have any recommendations for other card rooms or poker rooms that I should visit, let me know. All right, guys, hope you're all doing well. Hope you're staying safe. Good luck at the tables. I'll see you next time.